Bryan Kohberger, accused Idaho 4 murderer, finally revealed his alibi for what he was supposedly doing during the crimes, and seems to claim this alibi indicates he's completely innocent. We're gonna break down why Bryan's alibi is actually psychologically an admission of guilt. Now, let's get started. An alibi is supposed to be proof of why someone could not have possibly committed the crime. A good alibi is, for example, saying he was with two friends that can attest to him being with them during the murders and not at the crime scene when the crimes were occurring, thereby making it impossible for him to have committed the crimes. Or he was studying at the school library during that time and security footage has him on film at the library, which would have made it impossible for him to be at the crime scene. Especially now with cameras everywhere along with GPS and cell tower data, alibis today are much easier to prove. However, what's Bryan Kohberger's alibi? He claims he had a habit of going for long drives all alone. Sounds like Ted Bundy to me. And alleges that's what he was doing when the murders were taking place. If you ever thought he could possibly be innocent, you're probably not thinking that anymore, especially after we break down his alibi. This supposed alibi is apparently intended to be what is called a blanket alibi. By claiming he has a habit of going for long drives all alone at night, what do you think that does for him? Yes, it covers Bryan for basically any possible nighttime criminal activity investigators may want to tie Bryan to. But he apparently hopes it will specifically cover him in this Idaho 4 case. This alibi now allows him to claim that all those times that he was stalking the Idaho 4, no, that wasn't him stalking them, that was just him going on long drives all alone that happened to be right by the Idaho 4 house. Of course, the prosecution has cell tower data of Bryan at the Idaho 4 house 12 times leading up to the murders, but the defense will surely just claim that data is not very precise, and he could have been anywhere around the Idaho 4 house. However, Bryan has a major probability problem, because watch this.
From 3:29 a.m. to 4:20 a.m., the suspect vehicle, the white Hyundai Elantra, is observed multiple times on video passing by 1122 King Road during the alleged time of the murders before being seen on video speeding away.
Yeah, so apparently his defense will need to claim one of three things here. 1, the real murderer coincidentally has the same car as Bryan. 2, he coincidentally drove past the Idaho 4 house right when the murders were taking place. Or 3, someone else drove past the Idaho 4 house in a white Hyundai Elantra at the exact time when the murders were taking place. If you're thinking Bryan's alibi doesn't at all prove that he's not the murderer. Yeah, exactly, because he apparently can't. But what he and his defense counsel can do is attempt to throw doubt in the minds of a jury in hopes that even just one juror will believe that doubt is reasonable. It is actually somewhat common for the defense to not even put up any witnesses or evidence of their own in a criminal trial, because the defendant doesn't need to prove their innocence, since our justice system is based on innocence until proven guilty. However, the state has so much incriminating evidence, the defense in this case will have to put up a fight, and may even have Bryan Kohberger testify as a last hope that the jury will feel sympathy and spare his life. Yeah, his alibi is terrible, but a terrible alibi is better for his defense than no alibi at all. If you somehow believe Bryan's alibi, I have a bridge to sell you. So he claims he was driving around for many hours, specifically during the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, all alone. He never stopped to get fuel, he never called anyone and never checked his phone's text messages, he never used a single online app, he never got hungry, never got bored driving, never went into a store to get food or stop driving, and he was driving around those dark rural roads for hours and hours exactly during the time the murders were taking place, with his cell phone mysteriously turned off until he was well on his way back home. Yes, none of that makes any sense, but for the defense it helps to explain why his white Hyundai Elantra was spotted around town that exact night when the murders were taking place. I was out on my suspicious drive with my cell phone mysteriously turned off. That's why you saw my car around town. Also, curiously, his late night driving habit stopped right after the Idaho 4 murders took place. That's right, after that night of Bryan driving around town for hours and hours, once the Idaho 4 murders occurred, his late night driving habit magically extinguished. It was a miracle. He broke his late night driving habit that very night. Idaho is a death penalty state, and the prosecution appears to be going for it. I think Bryan Kohberger's lack of any reasonable alibi seems to indicate that he is a dead man walking. However, what do you think? Now in the comments, what do you think of Bryan Kohberger's alibi? Let everyone know in the comments below. Subscribe for more. Some of you don't know because you may not follow me on Instagram, but I am a student studying forensic neuropsychology at 4 universities, 4 of them. And they're not kind of like, you know, the easier universities. They're basically very, very difficult universities, and they're quite involved. So it requires a little bit of time. So sometimes I'm going to be MIA for here and there. It's around final season typically. So hopefully you all kind of understand that, and I'm going to try my best to still put out content, but I feel like I'm in a transition phase right now, you know, going from just doing behavior analysis and body language to now going a little bit more deeper into discussing some of these real psychological topics and also neurological topics as well. So there's a lot that I'm busy doing. So hopefully in the nearer future, things will calm down a little bit with my schools, and I could limit my schools to maybe just 1 is ideal. 1, that would be beautiful. Just 1 school I want, but we're getting through that right now. So I really appreciate you all for sticking with me and understanding that it's a little bit of a journey right now. Yeah, I'll be making more videos, and just expect during final season, during the ends of semesters, is kind of hard for me to put out content. So that's what I got for you. Thanks for sticking with me.